everybody, and welcome to today's episode of DownStream Outdoors. Today on DownStream Outdoors, we're continuing the wild edibles collection. It's early fall here in central Pennsylvania, and it means a great time for gathering wild edibles, particularly things if you wanted to store them over winter, and in this case, nuts. What kind of nuts? Hickory nuts. Hickory nuts can be found all over the place in central Pennsylvania. They're pretty easy to identify. We're going to start with the tree right here. It's a tree. You can tell this here particular one's called a shagbark hickory. It has it's a shaggy bark on it. You can see that it peels up in a lot of places, and it's what you would actually call a shaggy bark. The next thing you look at would be the leaves, and here's an example of the leaves. This whole thing is considered one leaf, okay, and it's a fairly large leaf, and most hickories, all the different varieties, have a very similar leaf to them. Not all of them have the shaggy bark on them. That there one is distinct of the shagbark hickory. But we found the right leaves, we found the right trees. Let's see if we can find some nuts now. Okay, we've had some luck. This is one of them ones. It's kind of tough to find a whole bunch in any one location because the squirrels absolutely love these. But we've had a little bit of luck. This is what they look like here. Now, this here is not what we're truly after. This here is the nut, but the nut has a shell on it, okay? It's called a husk. And once you let them dry a little bit, the husk peels off pretty easily. You can see it's a nice thick coating. It's a nice protective coating, okay? And then the nut is going to look something similar to this right here. Now, ideally, we would take this here nut in the shell here, take it home, let it dry for a little bit. We can eat it the way it is right now. I've never been real great at getting these things out of the shell. Buddy of mine, Joe, he's been on the show. His dad collects and harvests these every fall. He's really good at it. He can get the nut out generally pretty well whole every time. I cannot. I crush the shell and just get bits of the meat out. Now, that is the way the Native Americans, my understanding the way Native Americans did it, they would just basically take and they would break this, throw the whole works in water, the shell will sink, the meat will rise, and that allows you to separate the shell and the meat. Another thing they would often do then is you can skim oil from the nuts, because all nuts have an oil in them, and they would use the oil from the nuts then at that point. So what we're going to do, we're going to take this, excuse me bud, we're going to set it up here on our log. We're just going to bust it open real quick. You can see inside there's a nice white meat inside that nut, and that's actually what we're going for. It's absolutely delicious. I don't have a nut pick or anything with me. I do, however, have a rather large safety pin. Some would call them diaper pins. This will work perfectly. I always carry little bits and odds and ends of random things with me whenever I'm in the woods, because you never know when you might find a use for something. And today, we're pulling hickory nuts out. Absolutely delicious, very mild nut flavor to it. Not an overpowering flavor, but like I said, I mean, it can be a bit of a job to get the nut out of the shell. It would be a lot easier for me if I would let it dry down a little bit instead of trying to harvest them green like I am. These are just one of them things you can go around and you can gather and gather and gather, and you can get a whole mess of these pretty easily. Like I said, despite the fact that you're competing with squirrels for them. They store really well once you dry them down. They would store just like the walnuts you buy in the store, or the pecans you buy in the store, and you can use them in any of the recipes where you would use, say, walnuts or pecans or anything like that. You can dry roast them and salt them if you want to. Absolutely delicious, delicious fall treat here in central Pennsylvania. Kind of hard to mistake it, but once again, if you don't know what you're looking for, please don't go out and start gathering things up and sticking them in your mouth. Somebody's going to end up being poisoned if they do that. Try to find somebody who knows what these are and can point you in the right direction. There's a lot of people with knowledge in central Pennsylvania that can help you out, and I'm sure you have a neighbor, a friend, a family member, somebody that can help you if this is something you're interested in gathering. So until next time, keep your line wet and out of the trees.